Let's have a look at some other shit going on. Well, first of all, happy St George's Day for yesterday. I was at the Carlton Club yesterday doing my annual St George's Day speech. I mean, it was perfect, wasn't it? And now to do the St George's Day speech about a bloke who's never been here, St George. Oh, everyone says, oh, he's never even been to fucking England. Yeah. Well, why get me to do a speech about the English when I'm half Scottish, half Irish and half Welsh? Oh, that's 1.5, isn't it? Grandad was Welsh. All right, okay, a bit of Welsh thrown in for good measure, but no English in me at all. So I was in a taxi on the way to Waterloo Station, and I said to the drivers, they always talk to me like, oh, Jim, they're never looking where they're going, they must have necks like this. And he said, what, you've been doing your St George's Day lunch? I said, yeah. He said, I noticed there's no flags anywhere. No, the mayor's banned them, and we're told, and this has been last year as well, we've been told that if we put a St George's flag or a Union Jack on our cabs, we'll lose our licence. That's by the mayor. Well done, Sadiq Khan. Well done, Keir Starmer. Any mention of St George's Day? Well, good old Sadiq, that little person who's running our capital, started his message pretty well, talking about fish and chips, Sunday roast, Shakespeare. It was Shakespeare's birthday yesterday, wasn't it? St George's Day. Shakespeare. We fucking crap, Shakespeare. Couldn't fucking write a letter. Anyway, Jane Austen. She invented the car, didn't she? The Austin 7. The Beatles, their birthday was yesterday. No. This is what he's talking about. The little mayor who thinks, oh, I know all about England. Jane Austen, the Beatles, Wimbledon, the Bay City Rollers. But he couldn't leave it there, could he? No.
Jim Davidson has just sent shockwaves through British television after making a highly controversial remark about Sadiq Khan. The backlash was immediate, fierce and impossible to ignore. This is the kind of moment that keeps British politics permanently on edge. If you haven't already, make sure to like the video and subscribe. Astonishingly, more than 98% of people who watch our content never hit the follow button. Subscribing costs nothing, but it makes a huge difference.
That little shit, Mayor Sadiq Khan, puts out a statement saying that we should all hug our brown, black and ethnic minority neighbours. What a race-baiting little shit. Why can't we just hug our neighbours? Love thy neighbour. Or is that too Christian? No, he doesn't want real community cohesion. No, he wants to cause division. Eh? Where are his statements calling for people to hug their Jewish neighbours for the past 7 months, when Jews kept telling him that pro-Palestinian marches he sanctioned made them feel terrified in their own country? He was pretty fucking silent then, wasn't he? Do you know what? It's gone mad. Our leaders have done nothing but make the situation worse. Barney Rubble, right? Keir, two-tier Keir. He must surely recall Parliament in a minute. He's come back from his holidays early, hasn't he? But they've got to come back and have a proper debate about the tensions in the country. And not just arrest people. There's tensions going on. There's poor Muslim, Pakistani, Bangladeshi people frightened to death of the so-called right-wing.
Davidson didn't hold back. He went straight for the mayor, tearing into what he called the lies, the censorship, and the London he believes has been left behind. This isn't just about one comedian losing his temper. It's about the spirit of a city, the voice of a country, and a question now being asked right across Britain: whose city is this? Jim Davidson didn't set out to go viral. There was no script, no careful wording, and no PR team standing by to soften the blow. He spoke in the moment, raw, furious, and completely unfiltered, and in that uncomfortable honesty, he gave voice to what millions have been thinking, but felt too intimidated to say out loud.
But anyway, let's talk about the other little that's not that there is a previous. Sadiq Khan. Oh, I can't bear him. Have you ever seen such an arrogant little Roland Rat-looking shitbag? No offence. He has told people who don't like Donald Trump to use their right to free speech and protest. So what he's trying to do, he's trying to whip up crowds of people that don't want Donald Trump to come to London, his London. How come it's your fucking London? I'm from London and I want Donald Trump to come. So they're saying when he travels to the UK for his historic second state visit, apparently the mayor, well now he's all for free speech again, isn't he? Yeah, coming out you go, you can have free speech, you can protest against our great, powerful ally that's in danger of fucking dropping us like a hot cross bun. So the mayor believes in free speech now. Funny, isn't it? He wants so much into it when it's for causes he's not too keen on anyway. Anyway, the awful little shit has he's already told Trump's office to prepare for protest when he arrives here. And I reckon, I don't think he likes Trump. No, I don't. I think that is it. It's purely it. He doesn't like what Trump stands for.
Jim Davidson has sparked outrage after making a blistering statement about Sadiq Khan, launching a direct attack live on television. The response was immediate. The backlash was loud. Veteran comedian Jim Davidson, long recognised for challenging the boundaries of political correctness, dropped a verbal grenade and the internet erupted. It all started when London Mayor Sadiq Khan shared what appeared to be a harmless message, urging people to hug their brown, black and ethnic minority neighbours. To some, it sounded like a call for unity. To Davidson, it was something else entirely. This time, he wasn't buying it. Davidson didn't stay silent. He went straight for the mayor, attacking what he described as lies, censorship, and the version of London he believes his city has become. This wasn't just about one angry comedian. It was about the identity of a city, the voice of a country, and a question now echoing across Britain. Whose city is this? Jim Davidson didn't set out to trend online. There was no script, no polished delivery, no PR team standing by to smooth things over. What came out was raw, furious, and completely unfiltered. And in that brutal honesty, he said what millions have been thinking but were too scared to say out loud. This ain't your city, Khan. 7 words. That's all it took. 7 words that cut through stage smiles and glossy diversity slogans. 7 words that cracked the carefully managed image of modern London. Because suddenly, the mask slipped. London doesn't feel like London anymore. Not to the working class Brit pushed out by rising costs. Not to families afraid to walk the streets after dark. Not to pensioners who remember when this city still felt like home. Instead, it's a city of knives, acid attacks, postcode wars. A city where lawlessness plays out in daylight, where statues are torn down and history rewritten overnight. And in that fiery outburst, Davidson made one thing clear. This wasn't about race. It wasn't about hate. It was about reality. He spoke about crime, fear, and deepening division. He tore into elites living behind gates, while ordinary people are told to accept disorder as progress. He accused Sadiq Khan of allowing London to unravel, while insisting everything is fine. But Davidson didn't stop there. He turned his fire on the media itself. He spoke about censorship, pressure, and the fear of speaking honestly, about ordinary Britons being silenced not by law but by shame, by a system that shields the powerful and punishes those who ask questions. The response was explosive. The clip raced across social media. Millions watched. Millions shared it. Because, for once, someone said it out loud. Not everyone cheered. The establishment panicked. Media figures rushed to condemn him. The familiar labels followed: racist, extremist, dangerous. This time, though, the public wasn't convinced, because deep down, people knew this wasn't really about Jim Davidson. It was about them, their streets, their homes, their future, and it all began with one rant, one moment, one voice that refused to stay quiet. Now the question isn't whether Davidson went too far, it's why no one else spoke up sooner. Walk through London, and you can feel it. This isn't the city people grew up in. It's not the London their parents remember. This is a different place. And not in a good way. Shuttered shops, stabbings in broad daylight, rough sleepers outside luxury flats, and a mayor insisting the city is thriving, inclusive, vibrant. But inclusive for whom? Davidson asked that question, and the silence from Sadiq Khan was deafening. No press conference, no clear response, no defence. Because how do you defend what people can see with their own eyes? London's decline didn't happen overnight. It happened slowly, one excuse at a time, one ignored crime, one dismissed concern. And as Davidson said in his viral rant, London isn't safe, London isn't fair, and London doesn't feel British anymore. Strong words, but words many believe ring true. Knife crime is spiralling. Young lives are being lost. Children are dying. And where is the mayor? Davidson claimed he's busy rebranding streets, chasing headlines, and focusing on everything except the problems tearing the city apart. Police morale is crushed. Justice feels weak. Criminals walk free. Consequences are rare. Davidson summed it up bluntly. They care more about what you post online than whether you get home safely. That struck a nerve, because Londoners aren't blind. The working class, the forgotten, the people who built this city, They feel it every night they avoid public transport, every time they cross the road to avoid a group hanging around, every siren that makes them wonder if another teenager is lying injured on the pavement. And worse, they've been told to stay quiet, told not to talk about fear, told they're dividing communities, told that if they complain, they're the problem. Davidson tore that lie apart. He exposed what he sees as decay at the heart of London, and leaders too frightened or too arrogant to admit it. Because for politicians like Khan, the truth is inconvenient. But Davidson didn't limit his anger to City Hall. He turned it on the wider political system. He went after Labour, mocking Keir Starmer as a bystander with no grip on reality. Arrest people, issue statements, move on. Problem solved. In Davidson's words, they haven't got a clue. And whether people like him or not, that anger resonated. Anger about crime, anger about being ignored, anger at a system obsessed with image over action. That raw honesty is what turned one rant into a national talking point. Supporters praised him as brave, a voice for those shut out of the conversation. Critics fired back, accusing him of inflaming tensions and crossing dangerous lines. The mayor's office highlighted the threats Khan has faced and warned against stirring hostility. Davidson's supporters responded simply, truth isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it's loud, sometimes it's ugly, and sometimes it needs to be said. But what shocked people most came next. Davidson doubled down. In a follow-up outburst, he painted a bleak picture of a country fraying at the edges. The anger in his voice wasn't performative, it felt real. And then came the most controversial moment of all, when he turned to immigration, directly linking it to crime, instability, and a nation he believes is being pulled apart.
You are mayor of the capital city where the most recent terrorist attack has taken place. How many of those 400 have come back to London?
The estimate is just over half. So when you
where are they?
When you look at the
no, but seriously,
how
where
are
are
we
they?
letting people back in to the UK who haven't just been trained? They've actually fought potentially against our troops. How are we letting them back in without knowing exactly where they are and what they're up to? Because out of all the thousands of people that we're concerned about, surely those who've actually gone to fight are the biggest risk.
Well, that's one of the reasons why it doesn't make sense for the government to be cutting resources from those.
Where are they? You're the mayor of this capital city. Where are they?
I can't follow 400 people. What I can do is make sure with the policies, because what we can do though is make sure we get the resources for the police and the experts to follow these people.
Why can't you instruct the police? Why can't you call Cressida Dick right now and say every one of those people who's come back from a war zone, who's in London, I want them followed?
Let me see why. Because the Met Police budget, roughly speaking, 15% to 20% is funded by me, the mayor. The rest comes from central government. If the Met Police budget is being shrunk and reduced, they've got to prioritise and use their resources in a sensible, savvy way.
What could be a bigger priority than people coming back from a Syrian battlefield with intent to harm British citizens? Why is it not the #1 priority? Why are these people just allowed to come back in the first place, and then the London mayor doesn't appear to have a clue where any of them are? I mean, no disrespect to you, but where are they?
Well, that's one of the questions that obviously the police and security services are
but
looking into.
Mayor.
But this chap here...
Yeah, Sadiq, you're the mayor of London.
Sure, but can I say, look, the 3 men responsible for the attack on Saturday night hadn't come from overseas. They were, for all intents and purposes, integrated into our way of life.
But Jim Davidson isn't a politician. He's simply a man with a platform, and he isn't afraid to use it. The reaction was sharply split. Some hailed him for speaking his mind, while others accused him of racism and targeting Islam.
I think this is straightforward. It's Islamophobia, and the Prime Minister should call it out for what it is. The reason he won't is because he's so weak. They're divided, they're chaotic, and if they're re-elected, we're going to have 5 more years of this. It is only Labour now that can unite the country, bring people together, turn a page on this, and actually usher in the sort of society, the sort of future that people desperately want.
And this is the real reason they felt threatened. It wasn't because he used clever words or polished arguments. He didn't go through the BBC. He didn't wait for approval. He didn't ask permission. He simply spoke. And that's what caused the panic. Because when someone cuts past the gatekeepers, when a message spreads without being filtered, rewritten or toned down, the elite loses its grip on the narrative. That's the battle Davidson has just ignited. Not with fists, not with intimidation, but with honesty. And they know it. Because this wasn't just a comedian venting, this was a public figure with decades on stage, decades of life experience, and decades of watching the country change. Finally voicing what millions have quietly felt for years. A sense of betrayal, not only by politicians, but by institutions, by the media, by those who claimed they were there to protect the public and then turned away when it mattered most.
The choice here is a choice of failure, more of the same old failure or a fresh start with me. This is about how we move London forward. Cab driver telling me that crime is out of control in London. The stats telling me that crime is out of control in London. Let's look at it like this. How can the mayor look the black community in the face? How can he look women in the face and say he's proud of his record when the streets are not safe for either of those two groups? We've had an 86% rise in knife crime. That's why you hear me talking about stop and search. That's why you hear me talk about scan and search. We need to make the streets of London safe. It is not an option, it is a necessity, and I will take that leadership role.
The backlash came fast, but it didn't come from ordinary people. It came from the system. Fact-checkers scrambled to discredit him. Blue-tick commentators on social media rushed to label him dangerous. Activist groups called for him to be removed from platforms altogether. One journalist even suggested he should be investigated for hate speech. Hate speech? Since when is asking for safety considered hate? Since when is wanting your city back labelled extreme? If you've followed this political firestorm, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more hard-hitting and thought-provoking political content.